e te iwi and welcome to another episode of The Verdict. I haere aki nei, we are discussing Origin. Yes, Origin 2 will be coming to you live and direct this Sunday evening. And one of the biggest talking points coming out of it this week is our very own warrior, Reece Walsh. Does he have what it takes to save Queensland? Our second discussion, of course, will be who will take it out and, more importantly, how. Before we get into it, though, let me introduce to you our Warriors TV presenting duo, Goran Paladin and Adam Blair.
Thank you.
Batman and Robin.
Yes.
Which one's Batman? I suppose I'm Robin, eh?
No, you're Batman, I'm Robin.
No, because Robin's smaller. You're bigger than me. You've got to be Batman by default.
Batman leads everything, so I'm just like your backup.
Okay. I'm a miniature Batman to an enormous Robin.
I just hold your pocket like that.
We're all about superhero diversity here.
Come with me.
I just follow you around.
Just hang on to the old utility belt.
All right, okay.
You're all right.
So, before we get into it, of course, we lay down the law of the land, which is, of course, we will restate what these topics are today before you state what side of the fence you were on. Then you'll go into it with a little more detail as to why, and these discussions are going to perhaps get a little heated. Allegiances have already been stated in other episodes, so we'll see how this all goes down, but I know it'll be a whole lot of fun as well. Yeah?
Yep.
Yes.
Sure. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
It always is.
Batman, Robin, we good to go?
Yeah.
All right. Now, of course, first case. Reece Walsh, our very own warrior, has been called into the Queensland squad. Is he the saviour that Queensland is looking for this weekend? Some people say yes, some people say no. Before we get into it, though, here is what Warriors consultant Phil Gould has to say about it.
No one at the Warriors club was denying him the opportunity if it came for him. Everyone was just worried about his well-being and whether or not it was the right thing to be bringing him into a team, particularly this Queensland team at the moment. But to bring him into a team that was beaten 50-6 in game one, I think is a disgraceful decision by the Queensland selectors. To be asking an 18-year-old to come in and solve this problem is not fair on the kid. I hope he brains him. He's got great talent. He's going to be an Origin player of the future. I hope he scores 5 tries and saves 5 tries. That doesn't justify the decision to throw this kid into the Wolves on Sunday. You don't throw kids into this environment because your team is getting beaten 50-6. That's not the time to bring him in at 18 years of age. I'm sorry, that is not how you develop talent.
OK, guys, Phil Gould has spoken. He's made his opinion very clear, but it's not shared by all. So where do you two stand on this?
Go on, Robin.
All right. Was the question, is he the saviour?
Is he the saviour?
Oh.
Is he going to save Queensland?
Well, I love the kid. I'm going to say yes, he is going to be the saviour, just because he's a special talent and, yeah, he's going to be the man.
I'm siding with Phil Gould. He and I, we're very close friends now after we spent, it was damn near an hour in this very studio a couple of weeks back. So whatever Phil says goes, and I'm right there with him. I think the selection of Reece, even though he's an incredible talent, and I think all three of us can agree on that, it's a bridge too far for him being selected for Origin 2.
All right, interesting. Let's get into it, boys. Well, before we get into that, though, Phil Gould has made his, side very clear, but there are a lot of Queensland. Darren Lockyer is one of them who's a big advocate for it. So let's get into it. How is Reece Walsh going to help the Queensland out, Adam?
Oh, well, they need some spark after their thrashing from the New South Wales. Yes, we spoke about this last time that they're going to be a better team. New South Wales and the Queensland, yes, they were on the night, but I feel that they need a little bit of energy, they need excitement, they need to play a brand of footy that's going to get them away from beating the Blues, without a doubt. They've got the forwards there, but they haven't got that X factor, and I feel that's what Reece Walsh brings. Gus Gould is a Blues fan, obviously, we all know that, and he may be trying to ruffle a few feathers, whether, Darren Lockyer's, the Cameron Smiths, the Billy Slaters, the Jonathan Thurstons, all the 4 best Queenslanders to ever play the game. And that's his job. So he's out there trying to ruffle some feathers with the Queenslanders, saying that he's not good enough and they shouldn't be picking him, or it's disrespectful that they've picked him. But I feel that, like everyone else said, every other player, every other person out there said that if you're old enough and if you're good enough, you're old enough to play Origin. And I feel this is only a stepping stone for Reece Walsh, and I'm looking at the bigger picture that what he does in Origin is going to be something that the Warriors are going to take forward, because his experience is going to be important for him being a part of that group. I didn't think he was going to be playing in the team. I thought maybe being in camp would be a great thing for him, but there's no fullback, there's no Kalen Ponga, and he's next in line, and I feel like that he's warranted his selection through his performances, and he's playing with energy and excitement. So I feel that's where Queensland lacked. They lacked the passion, they lacked the energy, and I feel that Reece Walsh is a big part of the movement moving forward.
They do have a fullback. His name's Valentine Holmes, and they've stuck him on the wing. And I don't know why they've done that, because like last Origin 1, Queensland, they pretty much only had themselves to blame. It was made all the more harder when they lost Christian Welsh and they didn't have a man on the interchange. But you've got a guy in Xavier Coates who, he's been, can you call him a standout in a rubbish Brisbane team? Yeah. He's been doing some pretty cool things. The other week when he chased down Dane Gagai like it was nothing and rolls him over the sideline. The dude has talent. I don't know why they haven't persisted with a back three of Kyle Felt, Xavier Coates and Valentine Holmes. To me, that would represent a stronger, more solidified back three than shifting Valentine and bringing in the young kid Reece Walsh. And I go back to what I was saying just moments ago. Queensland had themselves to blame because that mismatch on that wing with Xavier Coates and Brian To'o, why did they not kick to him more often? I think they waited until like the 77th minute to finally give it one go, and he leaps up in the air and lo and behold, he takes possession of the football and then drives over the top of him, nearly scores a try. But by that stage, New South Wales have scored 50 points, so like their game plan was at fault. I think while Reece Walsh is an exceptional talent, and who knows how good this guy could be, on the back of 7 first grade performances and only 5 of those the full 80. For 2 of them, he came off the bench. I just think it's too much for him. Yes, he's got the added bonus or benefit of making his debut at Suncorp Stadium, and as a young Bronco, this is a place he'll be familiar with, and in front of all of those fans, I'm sure it'll lift him. But I just wonder if it's too early in his career to be putting him in that environment.
Yeah, well. For me, it wasn't the game plan. Is that they got bashed up through the middle through their Blues back five. The first kickoff, Felt is a really good kicker of the ball. Normally hits it in the in goal. You had Tedesco run the ball, bump down, find his front through the middle of the park. Tom Trbojevic takes the next run, bumps off Tino, and he goes flying back, plays the ball quickly. So the Queenslanders were bashed through the middle. They most probably had a game plan, but on the back foot you can't do anything. You can't put bombs into Brian To'o when you don't have the ball. When the scoreline's already gone, when they're trying to chase points, when they can't complete a set, when they're bashed through the middle, when they've got no energy. So they were out energised, out enthused, out competed. They just competed better than them. They wanted it more than them. New South Wales, obviously coming off the back of their performance last year, they wanted to go out there and prove to everyone, and the Queenslanders and themselves, that they were the better team, because they would have been hurting after all the comments from last year saying that's the worst Queensland team ever picked. I wouldn't be writing off the Queenslanders after what they did to them last year. They're going to have to turn up with the attitude to try and go after the Queenslanders, because they want to take it away from now, so they can go back down to New South Wales and enjoy that last game. But we didn't have any energy. We didn't complete sets. The Queenslanders. I'm a Queenslander. Yep. I'm a Queenslander. We didn't get into positions enough to be able to put bombs up to Brian To'o. So we weren't in the game from the start. From the moment they kicked off, you could see the attitude of the Queenslanders, and that's not the Queensland team I've come to enjoy and watch, because normally you see them with the passion. That first kickoff, that's when you know a team's on, and from the first moment of that kickoff, they were beaten. And they need some energy. They need the likes of Reece Walsh in the team. Whether he's the saviour or not, he's still going to provide a spark to that team and bring them energy around the field when there's moments that he can step up and play the way he does. Valentine Holmes obviously experienced. Yes, he's on the wing, but he plays on the wing anyway. He can play everywhere on the field besides the front row. But they'll be hurting. The Queenslanders will be hurting from their loss. The forwards, especially, because they've even come out and said that they were bashed through the middle. But for me, it was the backs ran through them. So they're going to take that personal next time that backs come through the middle. As any forward, when you're playing the game, is any time a back comes through the middle of the field, it's open slather. It's a free shot to go and try and line up
unless they're the size of Latrell Mitchell or Tom Turbo.
No, it was Tom Trbojevic and Tedesco that pretty much schooled them through the middle of their field with their feet. But that's how the game's gone. There's got to be a game plan around how Tom Trbojevic plays. For me, it's about maybe because Tom Trbojevic is not sitting on it in his centre position when they're attacking the line. So for me, it's most probably moving all your players to where Tom's going and show them the short side so that they can actually take the short side and give them the opportunity to take there. So the game plan is going to be around, the Queensland will be changing their game plan around what Tom Trbojevic does, looking up playing numbers and then giving them the short side to actually take the short side. Because if you're good enough, you're smart enough, you'll take where the less numbers are and hopefully take Tom Trbojevic out of the game that way. But it's easy said than done, and Reece Walsh will have an outstanding Origin game. On attack,
potentially yes, but then you're talking about all these big bodies running at him. How is he going to cope in defence? And, a few weeks ago, Nathan Brown, Warriors coach, he told everybody just, keep your powder dry when it comes to Reece Walsh. Yes, he's exciting, enormous talent, but he's a work in progress as well. What are the things he needs to work on? Defence. And we saw that in the Manly Seagulls game. And, he was defending in a slightly different position. He was kind of like left centre, wasn't he? And he was showing up. So, he does have defensive deficiencies, and that's why I would have gone with Valentine Holmes and kept Xavier Coates, because they just, to me, that would be a better defensive partnership. Bringing him in now, I think it does him. It's a massive disservice to him. If it was like 5 or 6 years ago when he had Cameron Smith and Cooper Cronk and Jonathan Thurston and all these sorts of guys with a winning culture, and then all of a sudden you just chuck into the mix this young kid, do what you want to do out the back. You've got the support of this brilliant Queensland team all around you. It's not that Queensland team anymore. Yes, they are the reigning champions, if you like. They won Origin last year on a fluke, might add. In game one, it was a bit of a fluke. But it's not the settled environment that it was 5 or 6 years ago. And then you're asking this guy to provide that X factor when he just wants to get in there and do his job. Like you're asking way too much of him, Paul Green, in my humble opinion. And that's why you go with the status quo. Although, getting away from rugby league, he needs to be told about cinema etiquette, because when you go to the movies, you turn your phone off.
Yeah.
And maybe
he knew there was something coming.
Well, maybe, but then you don't go to the movies, do you? Because you got
to do the right thing by your partner, and your partner. You're going to spend whatever a Sunday with your partner, and you're watching a movie.
State before movie, I think.
Put the phone on silent or turn it off.
And I'm sure it was on silent.
It's not like Paul Green's going to go, it went to answer phone. Oh, stuff him, not picking him. All right, next on the list, and we'll go with you at fullback instead. Like, leave the voicemail, and then you pick it up an hour and a half later.
My question is, he said that he saw Paul Green's number come up on his phone. How did he get Paul Green's number?
In his phone, yeah, exactly.
That was I had seen something saying that I saw Paul Green's number come up, so I thought, I better go grab it. How did you get his number? So there was conversations earlier.
Yeah,
I felt after that first game that I put my hand. I was the first one to go. Well, you got to get Reece in there. Just to add some energy and add some flavour. He just plays. He plays at a different level, and I've seen that at Warriors land where he's 5-6 metres in front of a lot of other people when it comes to seeing what's in front, because he's studying the game. He's energetic. He loves it. He loves footy. He kind of reminds me of Kalen Ponga when he first come in. It's just that they played carefree. Kalen Ponga's starting to master his craft a bit of being under control with what he needs to do, but it kind of similarities to Kalen when Kalen first come in. Just took on New South Wales when he first come in there, and everyone knew how good he was. You still got to stop him. That's the thing, is that everyone knows what Reece Walsh can do. You've still got to go out there and stop him.
It's going to be one heck of a homecoming for Reece this weekend, and we will be watching closely. All the very best to you, Reece, with that. Well, we're getting into case 2 now, which was who do you think is going to win and why? But I feel like we're covering it already. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
Queensland always.
Yeah, but is there anything you want to add to your arguments in terms of, you know, a bit outside of Reece Walsh?
Well, I said it.
Just Reece.
I said it in our argument before, is that the battle's going to be won in the middle of the park, and we will know from the kickoff either way where the game's going to go from the kickoff, I feel. And we've seen in the first game how it looked. The first one, you know, 2 quick paddle balls off Tedesco and Trbojevic, which is not how you start an Origin. So I feel that the battle's going to be won there, and those Queensland boys are going to have to aim up through the middle. You know, again, Reece Walsh was a big loss in that first one. The thing that he does off the ball, coming from a Melbourne Storm system, where he puts pressure on the kickers, he does all the little things as a front row that Melbourne implement every week, and that's just their standard, that they missed a lot. But in saying that, I don't think they put up too many bombs to the Queenslanders, because they didn't have to, because they were running from one end of the field to the other and scoring tries. So, but again, if the game's tight and you've got Reece Walsh on the team and you're putting bombs up, he's going to be the one that letting you know that if you keep putting bombs up, I'm going to keep coming and taking you down. Yeah.
New South Wales, it's just more of the same, like rinse and repeat. Win the battle through the middle, let Tommy Trbojevic go wherever he wants to go. Latrell Mitchell carries hard, difficult to put down. Same with Brian To'o when they get a chance. It's just, it's the same thing again.
Do you feel any of these changes are a threat to New South Wales, though?
Look, you can't deny Reece Walsh. If he gets the ball in space, if Queensland's in good field position, then of course he's going to be a threat. But I just don't know how Queensland can function with a third choice hooker in McCulloch. It'd be a different story if they had Harry Grant or Reid Marnie. I don't think that the changes will have much of an effect. I think the crowd will definitely come into it. It doesn't seem to be a very pleasant environment for a New South Wales team to play in when they go to Suncorp Stadium, so that's got to be a factor. But ultimately, New South Wales has too much class. They know what happened last year. They don't want the same thing to happen again. They've learned from that mistake. They won game 1, and they've got a game up their sleeve playing in New South Wales in game 3, but they want to get the job done here and now on Sunday night, and I'm pretty confident that they will. A bit closer. Queensland would have learnt from their mistakes in game 1 as well, but New South Wales should get this one done pretty comfortably.
Yeah. Do you think that Queensland will change their defensive structure now that they know that Tom Trbojevic is going to move around?
They have to.
Because like I said there before, he's a right centre, and there was times there where they had Cameron Murray sitting out there by himself, and they still had Catewell and the winger sitting there. So for me, if I'm doing that, I'm moving Catewell. You're following Trbojevic. You're not obviously going out there, but you're pushing them all across there.
Exactly.
And you're showing them the space there, and you want them to take that space, because that's where you want them to go. You don't want them to shift out to Tom Trbojevic. So I'm feeling that whatever Tom Trbojevic, Catewell's just got to move as well and show them and leave. I guess Cameron Murray, he's not going to hurt you too much with speed. I think Addo Carr's there as well. So you're going to have to watch the kick. So Reece Walsh will plug himself there, I feel, and Catewell will push over. As soon as the ball goes there, then Reece Walsh has to leave. But they'll be showing them that space there, I feel, so they can actually take it, which will take Tom Trbojevic out of the game. So hopefully it's like a little bit of illusion.
Yeah.
Well, you have to come up with something. Queensland have to come up. It didn't work the first time, so maybe, put up a little illusion for them to actually take that space. That's where you want them to go, because you don't want them to go out to Tom Trbojevic. So you've got to find ways to take him out of the game when you can see that there's opportunities to put him into a space where they don't want him to go. Whānau,
don't forget, if you have anything you'd like to say on the matter, who do you think will win Origin? And is Reece Walsh Queensland's saviour for Origin 2? Please drop us a comment below. Now, we've actually got some good news, guys, coming out of Sky Sport.
Very good news.
Today. You want to tell us a little bit more? It's in relation to the NRL and New Zealand Rugby League.
Yeah, so Sky Sport have managed to secure the rights to broadcast NZRL, NRL, which includes Vodafone Warriors games for the next 5 years beyond 2022. So the NRL, the Kiwis Rugby League, Kiwi Ferns, it will all be the home of rugby league as Sky Sport. It's just so good. And, like when I think about it, when I try and cast my mind back to those very early days in my childhood, like rugby league is one of those things that I was desperate to watch. Yeah. I'd moved over from Australia. I wanted to see the Parramatta Eels in the Australian competition. And in those days, you had Stephen McIver and Peter Ropati bringing us the coverage. And, it's a childhood memory, and it's so cool that it's still on Sky, and people like myself and Adam and you, Rav, we get to be a part of it and talk about it and analyse those games that the Warriors play. It's so good.
Fingers crossed.
What, that we get...
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Well, hopefully we've done an okay enough job that we retain our position.
Yeah, well, the exciting thing for me is mostly I'm all about grassroots, and Sky give these kids opportunities to be shown all over TV and over the world. So that's the passionate thing I'm passionate about, is that our kids get an opportunity through the grassroots all the way up into NRL, and I think it can only be a good thing for our kids to be able to be on TV. I guess when I was coming through as a kid, any time you had a TV game, you'd try and look the part. You know what I mean?
You'd be ready to run through a brick wall.
You have
he is the brick wall.
You have the flashes, boots, and the rudest haircuts. That's what they do. I'm talking about the rudest haircuts these days. Back in the days, it was nice, clean shaven. These are the ugliest mullet or whatever. You know what I mean? Or the coloured hair. So they're making sure they get noticed. So that's what I'm passionate about, and it's great to see that Sky Sport's going to be around for the next 5 years and being able to televise these games for these guys from grassroots all the way up from NZRL to Kiwis games and to NRL as well. So it's an exciting time for Sky and for us as well.
Yeah, very exciting time.
Not to mention our wahine as well. I really loved watching the women's game grow and grow, getting more TV time. We've seen our Kiwi Ferns do well. Even during COVID, they were able to get a game against Samoa, so we're hoping for more of the same. Our women's Warriors have gone from strength to strength. Unfortunately, won't be part of the competition this year, but don't count the team out. They will be back. And and it's been cool to see all these, like you were saying, the grassroots with, the New Zealand 20s competition and things like that.
Yeah, I found myself watching a bit of that earlier in the year, and you and Monty and Glenn Lama were involved in that. And it was a fantastic competition. And it just goes to show that there's so much talent that is yet to emerge. Where is the next Roger Tuivasa-Sheck? Where is the next Joey Manu, the next Nelson Asofa-Solomona? They're right there in that brand new under-20s competition. So, and you would have seen a number of those players who are likely to make that jump very soon.
Yeah, that was the good thing for me, is that to be able to... that's my way of giving back, to be able to watch these young kids come through the game through grassroots level and call their names and then figure out who they are and then find out more information about them, because that's what it's all about now. It's trying to find, like you said, the next superstar inside this competition in New Zealand. So Sky's going to give us that opportunity, and Sky's going to give these kids the opportunity. So let's try and find the next superstars for the Warriors, so that we have a nice, good generation of kids coming through that don't want to leave New Zealand, that want to play for the Warriors and are passionate about the Warriors as well.
And chucking them on TV early like that, it's good because it exposes them to the media side of things. They might be a really good talent, and away from the camera they perform, but there are all the other things that come with it. So obviously, performing on television, doing post-match interviews, knowing the right things to say, it all helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it's great to be able to just hear about their stories and their backgrounds. And that's what I enjoy about it, is because a lot of boys in the NRL, you don't even know their background stories, and we can give them an opportunity to speak about it and learn about these kids, so that when they get there, we actually know what we're talking about. If they make it to the NRL, we're talking about these kids and we've seen them play, so we know their background and we know their story and how and what it's taken them to get to where they are. So how cool would that be if we're talking about a 20s competition or grassroots rugby league, and they've come through and we've spoken about them all the way into NRL, and then we're calling them again. So those are the opportunities we're going to be able to get and give these kids as well. So it's exciting times for sure.
Yeah, and then at some point between now and 2027, it's got to be the Warriors' year at some stage in there, right?
It will be. It will be.
Well, you think so, eh? You think so.
I hope so.
You know, it's our year again. One more thing for me, it's mostly the fans. You know, like you said, it's you know, Sky has always been rugby league, and you know, I wouldn't know anything else but watching rugby league on Sky. So, from my time growing up as a kid, is I've always watched rugby league on Sky, and the fans are going to be able to continue to do that as well because we're going to be showing them that.
Yeah.
And then just looking at yourself, prime example, Adam, of the platforms after the game also. So who knows? After playing as well, Sky have got opportunities across the board. Before we do go, though, a special plug for the Women's State of Origin match this Friday night at 9:30, coming to you live from Sunshine Coast Stadium. Queensland are trying to get back-to-back titles over the women in blue. So please tune into that Sky Sport 4, 9:30 on Friday. Adam Blair, always a pleasure to have you at the table. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for coming in, mate.
All good.
And as for Goran and I, of course, we'll be back here next week, putting everything in sport on trial. Hei ko nā mai.